Ambassador Abbas, thank you so much for giving us some time on SNI. What is the situation on the ground, sir? Because Daesh is said to have lost its last piece of land in Syria. Iraq, of course, it had lost earlier. But according to the Syrian government, what's the situation?
If I will start from the end, from ISIS, I would like to say for you that ISIS is the hand of America in Middle East. ISIS created by America, and we have seen when American army occupied Iraq, they create Al-Zarqawi terror band, who is the leader of Al-Qaeda terror organization in Iraq. And after Al-Zarqawi, they create Al-Baghdadi. And after American allies against Syria, they create Nusrat Front led by Al-Julani. All terror group in the ground in Syria and Middle East led by America. America, after Iraqi war, doesn't like to go direct war with other country. They need to go by proxy war. They create big army of mercenaries led by American leaders to fight against Syria and those countries who are against the policy of America and Middle East. But Syria and its allies make the American project fail in Middle East. Now America face to face with with Syrian army, and ISIS disappear. There is one basis of America between Iraq and Syria, which called Tanaf bases.
Yeah, that's where the base is.
This basis, after Mr. Trump declaration will pull out from Syria, he makes under the table some discussion with Syria, with our allies, what we can do by our follower, what we will do. That is why we will remain 1 month, 2 months more to see what we will do by those terror groups, which we support from our side. Their country doesn't accept them to come back to their homeland, and America doesn't know what will do by its follower, those ISIS who are in the ground. That is why American bases remain 1 month or 2 months in our ground, but in the end, definitely they will disappear from the ground of Syria. America faces a big problem by those mercenaries, doesn't know what it will do. Now maybe there is some discussion with a neighboring country to distribute those terror group and give them residency or nationality to remain in this area. But definitely Syria refused, and many chiefs of European intelligence came to Syria, request our government, please don't allow our people to come back to our homeland, because they don't need to distribute democracy in their homeland like this democracy which they created in our land, and they destroy our country. That is why America is in big problem right now, and they couldn't create a Kurdish state also in this area, and they cannot do it in the future. If it is easy for them to do it, why they didn't do it in Iraq? In Iraq there is Kurdish autonomy. If they need to make independent Kurdish country, it is easy for them to do it in Iraq. If they couldn't do it in Iraq, how they will do it in Syria? They play on the brain of Kurds only to solve their case, and they need to make some deal, or if they can get some share from the cake of Syria, but Syrian government refused to deal with American country.
Ambassador Abbas, you're saying that America created Daesh or Islamic State and other terror groups. You've seen how that happened even with Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan as well, where they were supported. Where has the thousands that were proclaimed of Daesh fighters gone, even if there's no land that they hold, either in Iraq or Syria?
As I said for you, that is why American troops would like to remain 1 month or 2 months in the ground of Syria. They need to hide the leaders of ISIS and the member of ISIS to use in another country. Now all those ISIS leaders under the control of American army and in the hand of America.
But isn't it ironic that more than 17-member coalition led by the US is bombing areas, or was bombing areas, both in the north of Syria, Raqqa, which they got, and in Iraq, and they say they're bombing the Islamic State?
It is a big liar, my friend. They don't bombing ISIS, they bombing our army. When our army advanced to attack ISIS troops in the eastern of Furat River, American army hit our army. They don't hit ISIS. They protect ISIS in this area. They don't fight against ISIS.
Dr. Abbas, you were talking about the Kurds issue as well. Now here, when the last remnants of Daesh left or were driven out of Baghouz, the SDF claimed that they were responsible. They are backed by the US again. Even in the north, where the US-led coalition is bombing, who was responsible for the liberation, so as to speak, of Syria and Iraq from Islamic State or Daesh?
The main fighter against terror groups in the ground of Syria is the Syrian army and its allies, Russia and Iran and Hezbollah. Understand? That is the main power who fight against terror groups. But the main country who support terror groups is America and its follower in the ground. They don't fight against ISIS. If they are fighting against ISIS, pull out from Syria, we can liberate all Syria. They support ISIS and all those troops of ISIS which we catch them in the ground of Syria holding American weapons. The modern American weapons holding by ISIS.
In terms of your allies, Ambassador Abbas, Russia, Iran, Hezbollah, they are apparently even Shia militia groups who are helping. How would you have done it without them? If you look at the difference in territory that the government controlled from 2014 to now, there's been a huge difference. Without them, would it have been possible? Without the allies?
I will tell you openly. The war in Syria is international war. There is more than 400,000 mercenaries came from entire the war, cross the border of Turkey inside, enter into Syria. Alone we cannot fight this big army. Understand? That is why Syrian army request to execute the treatment between Syria and Russia. There were military treatment since since 10 years or 20 years ago. Understand? We request our allies to come to support us against those mercenaries. And those mercenaries lead by America directly. Understand? That is why they came to and they support us and we defeat them till Idlib. Now all those terror groups, most of them are in Idlib and some of them defeat them by Kurdish area. Understand? With our allies, we defeat those terror groups in the ground of Syria, and those terror groups got 100% support from American army, and they holding American weapons. Understand? That is why when we reach Idlib, American army, European country, crying, what we'll do? Why will defeat our people? Don't allow them to come. That is why many intelligence leaders from European country came to Syria. Please don't allow them to come back. Let them stay in your country or distribute them in the neighboring country in this area.
You mentioned Idlib. What is the situation now? Because there is a fragile truce there of
now
some sort.
We give time for conciliation. If we can solve the problem in Idlib by conciliation, we can go ahead. In the end, if we face a block way for conciliation, there is no way, only military way to liberate this area.
And how does it work? Because Russia is your ally, but Russia has also reached some kind of agreement with Turkey in the Idlib area. How does all of that come together?
There is Astana treatment, there is Sochi conference, there is some discussion between Turkey and Russia how to solve this area. But discussion going on under the table right now. But in the end, if we don't reach our aims, we'll go by military way to liberate this area.
So how close are you, or can you give a time frame for the government to be in control of complete Syria, including the northern part and Raqqa, and Idlib?
In this summer, everything will be clear, as I know.
The other big issue is of course, the Golan, which Syria calls the Syrian occupied Golan. Now, we've seen what's happened in the United Nations Security Council, where 14 out of 15 members have rapped the US on its knuckles. What the Syrian government, like many other governments, has condemned what Donald Trump has done. But just reiterate your position.
I will tell you openly, we highly appreciate Indian position about this issue and their decision in United Nations. Second, also you heard about the European country, how they deny the declaration of Trump about this Syrian occupied Golan. Understand? Syria, Golan is the land of Syria, is part of Syria. It is occupied by Israel in 1967, and Syria did a war with Israel to return back this land to our country, and we return half of it to Syria, Syrian land. And we were confusing because always America was a sponsor for the conference between Syria and Israel, how to turn back this land to Syria. And suddenly this dirty deal between Trump and Netanyahu for their personal benefit. The first one got his innocence.
Election related, you're saying?
First one, Mr. Trump got his innocence from the accusation from his department by Jews support. And second one got guarantee to win the coming election in his country, in Israel. This a dirty deal happened between these both person. We deny, we condemn, and Syria, Golan will remain Syrian land and will not leave it. We'll turn it back to our country by political way, by military way, but in the end it is Syrian land. We'll never forget, according to the decision of United Nations 242-338.
Again, could you elaborate a little bit more on, are you completely satisfied with India's position in various international fora, including the UN? In the UN, HRC voted against what Donald Trump has done. But are you completely satisfied, or would you like a more proactive support?
As I said for you, we highly appreciate Indian position, especially in about Syrian issue, which call for political solution in Syrian issue and no against any external intervention, and to execute the aspiration of Syrian people. This one part we highly appreciate. Second, for Golan Heights, we highly appreciate Indian position in United Nations. And as if any country do like India, there is no problem in entire the world.
What Donald Trump is doing goes against all international law, because it will then allow, say, Russia to claim parts of North Ossetia and Abkhazia and Georgia or Crimea and say that those are part. So mostly countries would support your stand against the US on that.
Yes. Look, what I'll tell you, what Mr. Trump did in his post when he became president of America proves for us America is behind all chaos in the international arena, and proves for us what is the aims of America. There is no American policy, there is business policy. Understand? And we don't believe in American policy, and we don't believe what the declaration of the president of America. He declared we'll pull out from Syria. He doesn't do. He declared Golan is for Israel. We don't listen for him, but will remain in our policy, and we will put our effort to turn back this land to our homeland.
When you talk about Israel, there have been so many attacks that Israel has carried out within Syria's territory. There was one just in the last 24 hours north of Aleppo as well, which the government says didn't hit anything, but the others claim that it has hit weapons or some kind of warehouse. Israel's attacks, now you have the S-400 from Russia as well, where unfortunately one Russian plane also was shot down when the Israelis were attacking. What is your position vis-a-vis Israel's attacks on Syria? How will you deal with those?
Look, now we are fight with Israel. How we are fight, not directly, indirectly fight with the follower of Israel in the ground of Syria, because those terror groups got support also from Israel. The Nusrat Front in the border of Israel get support and weapons and surgery and hospital and all kind of support got it from Israel. That is why We are fighting with Israel by proxy war, understand? But when Israel hit our land, we don't know what we can do. I cannot tell you immediately, but any actions, there is immediately a reaction from our side. We'll not wait the time. Any actions, there is reaction against Israel.
In terms of India and Syria, there is cooperation that's rebuilding. We have investments there in terms of oil as well. Sushma Swaraj was supposed to go for the joint commission. That was postponed. There was a big fair, trade fair as well. Tell us a little bit more about India-Syria ties. How are they growing?
Since the independence of our both countries, there is a strong tie between Syria and India. Yes, it is become little less in the term of this war in Syria.
Because of the situation.
But India doesn't change its policy about Syria. Indian embassy remain functioning in Damascus, and ambassador of India remain in Damascus, and in the same Syrian ambassador.
Just changed now, in fact, the Indian ambassador.
Yes, now they change only ambassador, but embassy doesn't close in Syria.
Of course.
And we highly appreciate Indian position, Indian policy built on principle of peace, the principle of Gandhi. We highly appreciate. If any country do like India, there is no problem in the world.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on any cooperation on anti-terrorism measures between Syria and India? Because there are reports of Indians going to join Daesh, whether it's in Syria, etc. And there were some reports that you have caught some of them.
I will tell you, in generally, there is good relation and high security relation between the both country. I cannot speak more about this, but there is high.
Fair enough. This increase, would it entail, say, restarting direct flights to Damascus, which we miss a lot now?
I would like to say for you that this may be a surprise for you. Maybe soon one Syrian flight will operate to Delhi.
Ambassador Abbas, thank you so much for giving us some time, sir.